The final topic in the first module of our course is called dimensional analysis, and it's a very specific method for converting units. So we'll be able to use this method, for example, if we want to go from something like feet to meters, but we'll also be able to use this method if we want to go from something like meters per second to miles per hour. So we'll use this on a variety of different unit conversions. Now, we need a little bit of background in order to be ready to do this particular method. And one of the big things that I prepared you for a bit in topic 2 is that we have to be quite comfortable with how we multiply fractions and cancel. And the thing I want to emphasize here is that you can cancel any numerator with any denominator. So as far as how this works, basically we're just going to say, and I'm going to make this a little bit bigger here, we're going to point out that when we have the same number in the numerator or denominator, they will always cancel each other out. So these 3's cancel, the 8's cancel, and the 5's cancel. And therefore, this becomes 1 times 1 times 1 times 1, which is 1, over 1 times 1 times 1 times 11, which is 11. Now, canceling before multiplying is a pretty smooth process. I do want to take a second and just explain to you why it works. The reason it works is that fraction multiplication tells me that when I multiply fractions, I multiply the numerators and I multiply the denominators. So when I multiply all the numerators together, I get 3 times 5 times 1 times 8. And when I multiply all the denominators together, I get 5 times 8 times 3 times 11. Now, we actually also have a property that we studied in topic 2 called the commutative property of multiplication, which tells me that I can rearrange this multiplication any way I want to. So, for example, I can put the 3's both at the beginning, followed by the 5's, followed by the 8's, and then let's see, in the numerator I had 3, 5, 1, and 8, so I'm going to put that 1 here. And in the denominator I had 5, 8, 3, and 11, so I'm going to put that 11 that's remaining here. Now I can break apart a fraction that's factored like this, just like I could have multiplied it together. So I can break this apart into 3 over 3 times 5 over 5 times 8 over 8 times 1 over 11. And each of these individual fractions, the 3 over 3, the 5 over 5, the 8 over 8, well, anything divided by itself is 1. So this is really the same thing as 1 times 1 times 1 times 1/11. And that's really what we're doing when we cancel. But this takes a really long time to write all out this way. So typically the way we do it is the way I showed the work up here, where we're just going to show how things cancel out. Now there is another key idea here. If you can see how I have these highlighted 3 over 3, 5 over 5, and that idea is that anything divided by itself is equal to 1. And we're going to really expand on that idea now. And we're going to talk about something called conversion factors. So conversion factors are used in this method where we change units. That's called dimensional analysis. And we really expand on the idea that anything divided by itself is 1 by saying, well, if we think about 12 inches and 1 foot, because 12 inches and 1 foot are the same distance, as long as we keep the units, as long as we keep the inches and the foot written, we can really think of 12 inches divided by 1 foot as something divided by itself and therefore equaling 1. And similarly, 1 foot divided by 12 inches is equal to 1. And we call these conversion factors. We will use them in this dimensional analysis process to use basically fraction multiplication to convert from one unit to another without changing the value. And it's particularly useful when we have a complex conversion that we need to accomplish. So we typically think of each conversion factor as having value 1 because the numerator and denominator are the same quantity. Even though they're not exactly the same number, they're the same quantity. And therefore, that divided by itself is equal to 1.